So in this next example, we have a semicircle function. It's good to recognize that this is a new function. And the radius is going to be 3 because this is 3 squared minus x squared, or radius squared minus x squared. And I'm going to plug in a few points. So I plugged in a few points to get the coordinates, the vertice coordinates. So negative 3, 0, 0, 3, and 3, 0. Okay, those are going to give me those 3 points where I'm going to keep track of and do the transformations on. Now, once I've established this again, I don't want to mess around with it, right? We're not going to use this function anymore. We're now just going to focus on the transformations. So to do the transformations, we need to make sure that we know what's on the outside, what is a y transformation, and what's on the inside, what's an x transformation. So in this case here, we have a negative, which is a vertical flip, times 2, which is a vertical expansion, and a plus 2, which is a vertical shift. And the order that it happens, we don't mess around with the y's. The y's, if it says negative 2 times first, we times by negative 2 first. And because of the algebra of this, the bedmass of this, the negative or the times 2, it doesn't really matter which one happens first. Okay, so we know that algebraically makes no difference, so as a transformation it won't make any difference as well, as long as we do the plus 2 last, because that's on the outside. Okay, so then writing my y transformations. My y transformations are the easiest, so I'm going to start with that. So I get my new coordinates by multiplying by negative 2, okay, and then adding 2 to those coordinates. And once I've got my equation, I'm just going to apply my equation to my y coordinates. So I'm going to times by negative 2 and add 2. So I get 2. Times by negative 2, add 2. I get negative 4. And times by negative 2 and add 2, I get positive 2. So the y transformations are fairly straightforward. And I just do them as I see them. And I can just do them independently for my x's. So then I need to move on to my x, and the x is a little bit more challenging because everything is backwards and the order is backwards. So when I look at the x, I have to make sure that I'm organized in how I approach it. What I see, divide 2 plus 4, okay, I have to do the reverse. So it's going to be expand by 2, shift to the left, and it's got to be in the reverse order of how I see it. Okay, so I probably can kind of figure this out. That is probably going to be shift first because that should be shift last. So shift should come first. But again, we don't really need to think backwards. Okay, it's good to just rearrange it so that we don't do anything backwards. So there's my notation, which is backwards, and I just fix that notation. Okay, so this is my notation, and I'm just going to fix that notation by undoing this expression. So when I solve for the new n here, I'm going to do minus 4 first, then I'm going to times by 2. So I'm going to go to left first, then expand horizontally. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. This is my description of what actually happens. This is the description of what happens algebraically. It's also the equation I use to convert my coordinates, because as I change the coordinates, the numerical values, I will change or transform those coordinates. So as I shift left and times by 2, my coordinates are going to look like this. So left 4 times by 2 is negative 14. Okay. Left 4 is going to be negative 8 times by 2. I'm going to get negative 8. So negative 14 was my first coordinate times by, so yeah, and then I'm going to get left 4 is going to be negative 1 times by 2 is going to be negative 2. So there it is. I've applied my horizontal transformation on those coordinates. So this is a final resting spot of those coordinates. So that negative 3, 0 ends up at negative 14, positive 2. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 2 up, there would represent the new position of that graph. It's been vertically expanded and horizontally expanded. -8, -4. So it's going to be down here. There's going to be my next coordinate. Okay, it's going to definitely be a bigger circle horizontally, bigger circle vertically as well. So -2, +2 is going to be right here. So that's going to be the other vertex. So my new graph is going to look like this. Yeah, it's definitely has the vertical expansion and flip involved. It's got my horizontal expansion and it's been shifted over. And it looks like it got shifted to the left first, then expanded, so it got left 4, and everything got stretched over, so the middle point is at -8. So that looks pretty good. In fact, and that's the order that I see here when I undid the notation. So to get the correct order, the notation is backwards. So to get the correct order, I solve or undo this expression by solving for the other x.